On May 5th, 2021, Elon Musk's SpaceX deployed and then landed the new model of its Starship rocket in the system's fifth high-altitude flight test. Serial number 15, or SN15 for short, was a Starship concept rocket that traveled as far as 10 kilometers, or 33,000 feet. After the landing, Musk tweeted, "Starship landing nominal." If all goes as planned, it is referred to as a nominal in the space industry. SN15 was the very first Starship prototype to withstand a high-altitude test flight. Even though a small fire broke out at the rocket's foundation after landing, it was very quickly put out. The company is designing Starship, which will be used to carry cargo and people on missions to both the Moon and Mars. NASA approved SpaceX a roughly $3.1 billion contract last month to develop a lunar variant of the Starship. This will be used to transport astronauts to the surface of the Moon for the agency's Artemis missions. Although Musk's company keeps on working on Starship production, NASA suspended SpaceX's research on the HLS program when Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin and Leidos subsidiary Dynetics both filed complaints of the NASA approving SpaceX. The flight characteristics of the SN15 aircraft were the same as those observed in the previous 6 months, which included testings of models SN8, SN9, SN10, and SN11. Although the previous rockets deployed successfully and achieved several project goals, all 4 designs exploded and wound up being destroyed. SN8 and SN9 both exploded during landing. SN10 got destroyed a few moments after landing, and SN11 got destroyed moments just before landing. The Starship's models are approximately 150 feet tall. That's the size of a 15-story house, and they're operated by 3 Raptor rocket engines. It's made of stainless steel and reflects an early prototype of the rocket that Musk revealed back in 2019. According to a report on SpaceX's website, SN15 has vehicle enhancements throughout the structure, advanced avionics, and applications as compared to previous Starship prototypes. Specifically, a new improved avionics package, revised rocket engine design in the aft skirt, and a new Raptor engine design and configuration have been installed, according to SpaceX. The Federal Aviation Administration, which has an investigator working at SpaceX facilities, examined the SN11 flight as a mishap. The FAA approved the following 3 Starship launches, SN15, 16, and 17, stating it will validate that SpaceX adopted corrective measures resulting from the SN11 blunder. The FAA approved several launches at the same time because SpaceX is making few improvements to the launch system and depended on the FAA's approved approach to measuring the risk to the public. Starship SN15 has been returned to a launch mount after a safe launch and landing for evaluations and a possible reflight. The forthcoming testing schedule will be concentrated on approving an orbital effort that has already been reported with the FCC. Although Starship got landed successfully, SpaceX is still finding it difficult to make an appropriate and precision-based landing system for the rocket. SN15 has been raised onto Launch Mount B after spending a few days launching from Mount A. That was the first time the same Starship has ever occupied both suborbital launch platforms. While Musk has not elaborated on his initial statement that the SN15 could fly again, the assessment is probably pending a complete evaluation of the aircraft, along with its engines, which will be permitted now that it's back on a launch mount. In terms of SN15, SpaceX has a number of choices, like reflying the Starship or performing ground tests, such as cryogenic testing the spacecraft in a post-flight condition, or even stationary fire testing if the choice of another flight is excluded. Reflying SN15 would be an appealing choice for SpaceX, as it would be a significant achievement in the company's reusable strategy. It will also enable the collection of additional flight data, which could be used in the future flight of SN16. After being piloted inside the high bay, the next Starship is in the process of rolling to the launch site. However, final testing, such as inserting aero covers over the flaps, has been put on hold until SpaceX has established a clear path forward. If SpaceX decides to fly SN16, it will almost undoubtedly be the complete 20-kilometer high-altitude hot mark. Although the impressive development cadence of Starbase has been a major focus in the recent months, the mid-bay's normal maximum occupancy has been missing. This suggests that SpaceX has reached a crossroads in its testing schedule. The majority of the current mounting operations has been linked to the construction of GSE tanks, which stands for Ground Support Equipment, which will roll down Highway 4 in order to become part of the Orbital Launch Site, the OLS. The ongoing construction at the OLS is also affecting Starship test schedules, as any near-term Starship test and flight activities require the site to be clear of staff. Such operations will also necessitate the rolling back down Highway 4 of 2 massive cranes, the LR-1600, dubbed Tankzilla by the SpaceX community, and the LR-11-350 dubbed Frankencrane by SpaceXers due to its array of numerous crane appendages. The LR-350 in particular would require the removal of its boom prior to any such transition away from the launch site. On Sunday, parts for another massive crane, the LR-11,000, started arriving on a fleet of trucks. Both cranes are being prepared to load the various parts of the launch integration tower that has already started to climb out of the ground beside the launch mount. Additional parts of the launch tower are being built at the old gas well area, waiting to be delivered to the OLS and stacked using the new cranes. Work on the OLS tank farm is well underway, whereas the support facilities for the Starship stack are just being constructed. Multiple commodity tanks have already been mounted, as well as 2 large GSE stainless steel tanks built in the same manner as Starship structures. As GSE-4 has already been stacked, a third GSE tank is ready to deploy down Highway 4. 2 additional cryogenic fuel tanks, including the old gas well facility, will also be constructed, and these tanks will have protective containers made from cryo tank shells. Nitrogen gas will fill these shells, acting as insulation between the 2 tank layers. The architecture is being built in preparation for the arrival of Super Heavy BN3. When SpaceX decided to modify the configuration of the launcher, especially the arrangement of the liquid oxygen and liquid methane tanks, Super Heavy BN1 was installed in the high bay but was discarded shortly after. BN2 and BN2.1 sections were also detected. Both pages, however, were devoted to Pathfinder's objectives. As a result, BN3 should be the first mounted Super Heavy to reach the OLS. The BN3 booster's first parts have already been assembled for loading inside the high bay. According to recent documents, SpaceX is planning an orbital test flight of the Super Heavy BN3 with the Starship SN20. Although the mission's assigned vehicles may alter in the upcoming days, the report with the Federal Communications Commission shows the test flight is well underway. The launch profile aims for positioning between the Super Heavy and Starship at about 170 seconds into the flight, according to the FCC summary. The booster would then make a partial return to the Gulf of Mexico, landing 20 miles or 32.1 kilometers from the sea. The orbital Starship will remain in the Florida Strats. It will stay in orbit before landing approximately 100 kilometers off the northern shore of Kauai. Neither Super Heavy nor Starship will come back to the launch area, according to the report. In addition, Starship will execute its well-known belly flop, flip, and landing maneuver over the Pacific Sea before being consumed by the ocean. Super Heavy will have a full complement of Raptors. The overall quantity, as well as quality, has definitely changed after 2019 Starship update when the ship was supposed to have 28 engines. Thrust vector control will not be available in the outer perimeter of engines, but will be available in the inner area. The Starship will have 6 Raptors, 3 of which are sea level and 3 of which are vacuum optimized. As a result, just for this test flight, a significant number of Raptor engines will be needed. Although Raptors that are getting delivered in Boca Chica are in the range of SN50 and SN60, SpaceX is testing engines in the SN70 to SN80 range in the McGregor area. And it is known that development in Hawthorne has been making engines above SN150 with a delivery volume of several Raptors per week. SpaceX has dramatically increased the Raptor development rate in order to enable a completely expandable launch of over 30 Raptors. Moreover, SpaceX has increased the development of the latest clean Raptor layout, while McGregor is ready to handle the increased test cadence with an updated vertical engine test stand. Production for Raptors can only grow as SpaceX moves forward with Super Heavy and Starship flights, not especially because the first orbital test flight is expendable. Although the SN20 and BN3 combination will be the first in line for orbital flight, the following boosters or ships are expected to team up in the following order: SN21 with BN4, SN22 with BN5, and SN23 with BN6. In contrast, the SN24 BN7 pair is expected to receive a significant design update. There is the possibility of limited availability on SpaceX's 2 ocean facilities by the time it moves to the SN24 range. The Phobos and Deimos are currently undergoing conversions in preparation for conducting Super Heavy launch and landing missions. The catching mechanism will be introduced during the vehicle's landing, with 2 massive mechanical arms capturing the booster at the end of the landing burn. The catching weapons will be mounted on the launch integration towers of the OLS, which will gradually house 2 Super Heavy launch mounts. Although this ambitious research schedule necessitates a larger number of accomplishments in a limited period of time, SpaceX has already demonstrated the ability to handle such a high test cadence. Only 6 years ago, SpaceX's Boca Chica was nothing but a beach tent, and now it's a massive manufacturing plant and the dual launch facility with a brand new name. At this stage, It is transitioned into a manufacturing facility with a new name, as well as a launching location for future missions. With the addition of signage, the facility was permanently named Starbase in 2021. Considering all the technological advancements and innovations, what do you think about the initiatives of NASA and SpaceX combined together? Do you think their plan will succeed in the proper implementation of SN50 and all onwards? Do you think Starbase will take SpaceX's motive to the next level? Let us know your opinions down in the comments section below. And just before you go, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel, as well as turning on post notifications so you don't miss any more of our upcoming tech videos. With that said, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!